Good morning. Welcome to Horizon Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Beth Blakehedges. I'm the worship associate this morning, but I wanted to have a few announcements first. As further proof that life is finally starting to return to normal, we're going to resume our monthly potlucks next week. Yay, I know, right? Yay! For those of you who are rather new, pre-COVID, we used to have a monthly potluck after service. Everyone would bring a dish to share, and we'd hang around and have fellowship. And it was really a really nice way to connect, a nice community type of event, which is what we're all about. This Sunday, though, we also are going to have an added bonus of the Ministerial Search Committee is going to be there, and please plan to participate in one of the focus groups they're going to be running so that they can get more input. I'm sure everyone here has filled out their survey because we had an 80% turnout, but they want to hear your thoughts as we all work together to try and keep forward on keeping the mission and the vision that we share. And there's also a lot of new classes coming up, so if you could check out the bulletin boards and see what you're interested in, sign up, that would be awesome. So, like I said, I'm the worship associate. We're excited to welcome you today to our worship service this morning. We're so glad to have you with us today. Whether you're joining us in person or virtually, whether you're here for the first time or whether you're here for longer than you can recall, here at Horizon, we welcome people of all faiths and of no faith in particular. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, you're welcome among us.
All right, if you would join me in the spirit of prayer for our call to worship today. The Jewish New Year commemorates the creation of the world, the bringing forth of order where once there was only chaos, the birth of the building blocks of life. As Jews within and beyond these walls begin to celebrate Rosh Hashanah, let us celebrate, let us marvel, let us be awestruck, for the same force that brought our planet into being, the same force that evolved tiny atoms and molecules and DNA into intelligent life, the same power that transforms summer into autumn and autumn into winter, that same power is still at work in the universe and in us, always bringing about new seasons, new creations, and new possibilities. Breath of life, breathe in us, with us, and through us this day as we gather, one in community, one in commitment to truth, love, and justice. Open our minds and hearts to the new that is always being created. Come, friends, let us celebrate, let us marvel, let us be filled with awe. Come, let us worship together. And if you would all stand for our chalice lighting. We light this chalice to affirm that new light is ever waiting to break through to enlighten our ways. That new truth is ever waiting to break through to illumine our minds. And that new love is ever waiting to break through to warm our hearts. May we open to this light into the rich possibilities that bring us.
And now, please remain standing if you can, and as we say our affirmation, which is located in your order of service and projected on the screen. Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth, Thus do we covenant together. Please remain standing for our opening hymn, number 219 in the gray hymnal, "O Hear My People."
Oh, hear my people, hear me well. I have no need for sacrifice, but mercy, loving kindness shall alone for life and good suffice. And source of peace, lead us to peace, a place profound and wholly true. And lead us to a mastery, or drives in us that war pursue. May deeds we do inscribe our names as blessings in the book of life. O source of peace, lead us to heal. O source of peace, lead us from strife.
Good morning. I'm Lauren Daniel, the Director of Lifespan Religious Education, and today is a great day, and let me tell you why. Today, one of our Whole Lives comprehensive sexuality classes is beginning. Not everybody here knows what OWL is. OWL is a lifelong series of comprehensive sexuality education classes for children, teens, and actually for adults. And today, our 5th and 6th grade OWL class is beginning. Next week, our 7th and 8th grade OWL class begins. We hope to offer kindergarten, 1st grade OWL in January, and our high school OWL class will also start in January too. So if you have children those ages, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, keep that in mind and come talk to me if you're interested. So today there's not a story, but if we do have any children that brought donations for our charity partner MetroCrest services, you can bring them up as you're dismissed. So I will say, regular middle schoolers, you're going to be going to the blue classroom in the main building here. And middle schoolers who are taking OWL in 5th and 6th grade, you're going to be going outside all the way down the hallway into the portable building. All right, let's go ahead and sing our kids out to their classes and to OWL, and let's go.
We have been warmed by fires we did not build. We have drunk at wells we did not dig. In acknowledgement of our many blessings and many needs, if you are able, and if you've not done so already, you may place your contribution in the basket provided as they go around with the offering.
Our first reading today is from Micah chapter 5, verses 1 through 5. Jerusalem, enemy troops have surrounded you, and they have struck Israel's ruler in the face with a stick. Bethlehem, Ephrath, you are one of the smallest towns in the nation of Judah, but Adonai will choose one of your people to rule the nation, someone whose family goes back to ancient times. Adonai will abandon Israel only until this ruler is born and the rest of his family returns to Israel. Like a shepherd taking care of their sheep, this ruler will lead and care for their people by the power and glorious name of Adonai, their God. Their people will live securely, and the whole earth will know their true greatness, because they will bring peace.
Now is our time to honor the joys and sorrows of this community, knowing that we are all interconnected and that what affects one affects us all. So we have a joy from the McKees. They welcome a new cat, Jinx, into their home and lives. There's a new baby. We always like to think about whatever's going on topical right now in our prayers, I think. But I was asked to say something about the people of Ukraine and the great suffering they've been going through for, 7 months now. And their great strength and their great strength of character, strength of mind, strength of just people to fight against what everyone thought was an unwinnable war is such a wonder and so surprising to all of us. I mean, we were all quite surprised they've lasted this long, but I think we still need to keep in our thoughts and prayers, there's still great suffering in their victories. They've lost so many lives and so horrifically. So if we can all add them to our prayers today, that would be greatly appreciated.
This day is a new beginning, a chance to be with ourselves and to be with others, sharing in their happiness, their concerns, and their grief. Just as they share in ours. We can sing them, we can listen to them, or simply with them for the guidance of a still small voice. So let's take a moment now to sit in silence and listen to everything going on around us, and find out what each of us will hear and learn. Now, if you'll stand as you're able and turn to the hymn number 123, The Spirit of Life. All right, you may be seated. Our second reading today is by Rebecca Tausig, and it's called Crushing Systems. So many of us grew up and continue to exist under crushing systems. Racism, sexism, ageism, classism, homophobia, size discrimination. These structures are like factories, pumping out blueprints, designs, infrastructures, tools, and stories that shape our world. They have been running for so long, shaping our cultural history and current landscapes, that a lot of us don't even notice the billows of smoke jetting out of their industrial-sized stacks. They are fueled by worth and power and stolen from whole communities. They distort our sense of self, keep us quiet, make us feel both small and like we are an enormous problem, both invisible and put on display, both as spectacle and swept under the rug. This act of thievery can be loud and violent, or quiet and sneaky. There are ways these oppressive systems overlap, feed off each other, mirror one another, and there are always ways they remain uniquely distinct. Shame seems to be the best-selling product pumped out of all of these crushing systems. And I thank you today for allowing me to come here and deliver the word to you. My name is Ashley Newland, and I am a seminarian from Bright Divinity School, and I am training to become one day a pastor, and hopefully in a beautiful Unitarian Universalist congregation such as this one. I go to school with Mary Blow, as many of you all know, and she's fantastic, and so I've heard a lot of great things about you all. So I'm looking forward to delivering the word today. And so, growing up, my brother and I attended one of those conservative fundamentalist Baptist churches. Eventually, I would find myself in a Nazarene church, not for theological reasons, mind you, but because that church had two girls I had massive crushes on. And my middle school mind was more interested in those pretty girls than with issues concerning the divine or in our place in the world and in the universe. But before I left, I remember them preaching a sermon on these exact Micah verses that I brought to you earlier today. And I guess in fairness, I'll give you a synopsis of what was said in that sermon that must have been preached over 20 years ago. It went something like this. Hey, look at these verses. They are clearly in reference to Jesus. And even more exciting, they are predicting Jesus' incarnation here on earth. See? Then the preacher proceeded to do that matching game. Do you all remember the matching game? It's like the ones that give you in grade school, where on one side of the page you had the concept, and on the other side of the page you had definitions. And your task was to draw a line between the concept and the matching phrase in order to get points for that part of the assignment. Well, for this pastor, the only thing on the concept side was Jesus. And all the phrases from Micah 5 were on the other side. So really, the answer to each and every single one of these lines was to draw it all to Jesus. And that's what the pastor did. So it was kind of like this. Oh, look, this person is from Bethlehem. Jesus was from Bethlehem. And they proceeded to draw the line. Messianic language? Heck yeah. Get that line drawn to Jesus. From the line of David, you better bet there's going to be a line to Jesus on that one. Now, this is just one interpretation, and it's a popular one. And there's nothing wrong with it. I like it. And if that's the interpretation that you prefer, and you don't want anyone to challenge that interpretation, that's fine. You won't get any judgment, at least from me. And you can get on your phone and scroll through Facebook for the next 15 or so minutes, zoning out until you notice everyone get up from their seats and leave the building. Well, you know, the 12 and 13-year-old me loved this interpretation and ate it up. But as I grew up and spent the last close to 10 years and thousands of dollars on a theological education, my mind has shifted away from this interpretation. I have grown increasingly uncomfortable of just simply looking through the sacred scriptures of the Hebrew Bible through the lens of the Christian Testament. So, what are we supposed to do with these verses then? Well, one of the things that I was taught was take a closer look at the text and try to ascertain what exactly the text is trying to say on its own. One of the ways to do this is to look at the context and get a closer understanding of what it's like in the minds of the writers and the people who the text was originally intended for. This is a difficult task, if only because it's been thousands of years since this text was written. But luckily for us, today, you all picked a really good week to come. I have a genie, and this genie has offered me to have an email exchange with anyone during any time of history. Because this text is so perplexing, I didn't choose some historical figure like Abraham Lincoln or Jesus or, Muhammad. I decided, because this text is so amazing, that I needed to exchange emails with a woman from Jerusalem in the 8th century BCE. And so my genie put me in touch with a woman named Eleanor. And after some pleasant exchanges, I asked Eleanor what it was like for her and during her context, during her time. And I would like to read you some of the things she emailed me. And I would like to share some of the exchange between us. It goes like this. Hi, Ashley. Yes, I would love to tell you what's going on here in Jerusalem. It's year 715, and it's been a mess here lately. We've had 3 terrible kings in succession of one another. Our last one, Ahaz was insane. He even sacrificed one of his sons and was clearly out for himself. He even went to King Tiglath-Pileser III, king of Syria, to pay homage to him, mostly because he liked their parades and beautiful clothing. I'm not sure if this new king, Hezekiah, is going to do, but considering he is one of Ahaz's kids, the chances look bleak. On top of that, the population in our city has almost tripled the last few years, with refugees from our northern neighbors and from surrounding countries who have felt the wrath of Assyrian forces. The demand for food and housing has caused prices to skyrocket under the weight of the demand. So much more than all of that is our taxes are insane. Yesterday, the tax collector came by my house and demanded that I pay half of everything that I have. They all say they are collecting these taxes to send to Assyria to keep them from attacking our kingdom. But this makes zero sense, because I don't see why me and my neighbors have to struggle to feed our children, all the while the rich in our city are building miraculous new houses on top of the hill. Why is it that the rich are living in luxury while the rest of us are struggling to living paycheck to paycheck? Everything just seems so hopeless. But yesterday, while I was coming back from the market, I ran across this crazy man named Micah, screaming at the top of his lungs to a crowd of people. He claimed to be delivering the word of Adonai, the Lord, to us. He said that Adonai acknowledges everything is looking bleak and things will probably get worse before it gets better. But this man, Micah, said that Adonai promises that somebody will come to deliver us from this awful hell. He said that this person will come from a small city and will be like one of us. He will rule, but will do so as a shepherd, which I think means this person will take care of the people and not just themselves and their friends, which would be relief considering the many kings we've had parading around here. who have only taken from us and have given us nothing in return. Anyway, that's my life. I would love to hear for you. What's life like there in Texas? By the way, that's a weird name, Texas. 3,000 years from now. I look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, Eleanor. Well, y'all, that was a lot for me to process, and I had to take a moment. And so I thought about what I was going to say, and I replied back. And this is what I said. Dear Eleanor, thank you so much for sharing your story with me. Things seem so tough. My genie told me that I can't share too much about what happens to you and your neighbors, so I'll avoid saying anything there. But I'll tell you what's going on here in Texas. Right now, we have had several rulers in our nation in a row who seem to care nothing for the needs of the people and more for the needs of the oligarchs and those with money. Wages for everyday workers have remained relatively the same for almost an entire generation, while the prices for our homes, food, and schooling have skyrocketed. We find ourselves on the other side of an awful pandemic where we have argued more about whether or not people should have to wear masks and vaccinate themselves rather than simply doing so for the needs of their neighbors who are worse off than themselves. In Texas specifically, our leaders are actively out to take away from the rights of several marginalized groups. Transgender children have become the object of blame as leaders argue whether or not they should be able to play games with other kids. And teachers are being attacked for defending these children. And they're also being attacked for teaching their children what they need to learn. Politicians are controlling what women can do with their bodies despite centuries of work to give women the right to speak and do with their bodies as they feel is right. And anyone who helps these women are being threatened to be thrown in prison for doing so. Those same leaders are making it harder for people who do not look like them to vote in elections. Our planet is slowly melting, causing the ice caps to melt and water levels to rise all over the world, and our climate is in turmoil. And those who are causing the problems are shifting the responsibility onto everyday people. While they're given their green light, these same people, to continue to do the same things without any accountability. And we have immigration arguments as well. But instead of a foreign power forcing people to migrate to our country, our own country has actively meddled in the affairs of others, stripping them of their resources. And when they finally do come to our borders, we throw them into prisons. I do hope that something good happens in my own country, as I do happens in your country. Things seem to be so bleak with no one in sight for this misery. But this weekend, I'm preaching in Carrollton, and I have a lot of hope. It's not a big city, but it's a city with a lot of history, I'm sure. And the church I'm going to preach at is amazing as well. I like that you brought up that prophet guy named Micah, and what he said about raising up a ruler comes from a humble place who cares for his sheep and is empathetic to the poor. Eleanor, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. I will pray for you and your neighbors, as hope you do for me as well. Sincerely, Ashley. So, that was a very long email exchange. And the problem that I found with these email exchanges I had with Eleanor is I wish there weren't so many parallels in those email exchanges between Eleanor's world and our own. Hell, I wish that I could tell her everything was fantastic here in Texas in 2022, that our leaders are no longer efficient at their jobs, or worse, twisting laws to their advantage for themselves and their friends. I wish that I could have told her that the rich are no longer taking advantage of the poor, that women have been given rights to their bodies and allowed to have a bigger voice in society, which they're entitled to. I want to tell her that migrants are no longer seen as a strain on our system, and that we have structured our society to use their bountiful resources to meet their needs instead of locking them up. And then hanging and leave them hanging on to fend for themselves. That the marginalized in our society are invited into the fold instead of being othered and pushed the political needs of those with power and privilege. But sadly, none of this is the case. And for as much progress it seems to we have made lately, as a society, there seems to be so much more left for us to do before it's even possible for us to consider ourselves as a peaceful society that cares for the needs of every single person. Yes, things seem as hopeless today as they were several millennia ago. And it seems like there's nothing we can do to change it. That's why I no longer see this passage as useful to see it through the lens of the New Testament, because it would be so easy to dismiss the problems in their world as well as our own world. As, similar to saying, well, there's the solution to the Micah story. Everything has been accomplished. It's done. But we know that's not the case. But though we know that things are still bleak today, and there's a feeling of never-ending hopelessness that permeates all parts of society, what are we to do? Well, there's one answer to this question. We can sit pitifully in our bubbles of despair, surrounded by the enemies as they advance and surround us and strike us down with their rods of domination. We can allow ourselves to sit back and watch while our environment crumbles, the marginalized are imprisoned, and the poor are exploited. But this seems like a cop-out. But that's just one answer. Or maybe we can take Micah's lead and be the type of people who fight against the oppression of our world. I know this church has deep history. I know this church is an amazing place. And maybe this is the place where the world is given the hope it so desperately needs at this time. Whatever the issues may be, you beautiful people in this beautiful church can be the place where all the needs of the world are met. Now I know what you're thinking. Doesn't this passage talk about a singular person becoming a ruler? How is it that this entire Unitarian Universalist church be represented of one person this talks about? Now I agree, and that's a fantastic question. And interpreting the ruler character in this text as referencing a real person who's coming to be raised up from Bethlehem is certainly a perfectly way to interpret this text. But I implore you to look at this poem as I look at this poem, to put yourself into the heart of this text to see deeper what it's trying to say. If you do that, I think two questions come up. First, what if the reference to a ruler, the messianic language, is the comfort people who've been screwed over again and again by rulers and elite? And what if the reference to Bethlehem is talking about how the divine uses people regardless of how small they think they are? I look at this church and it's not 1,000 people or more. It's a small church, but it's a church just like the ruler from Bethlehem that may be small but can do so many great, amazing things. So, all I know is there will come a day where all things that have been promised to us will be realized. And maybe Adonai, the Lord, God, the divine, however you name it, will raise up a church, maybe from a humble place, such as this one. And in the end, after all is accomplished, there will be peace. All right. If you would join us for our closing hymn, as rise as you're willing or able, and turn to page 295 in the gray hymnal. Sing out the praises for the journey.
Now we extinguish the flame, but not our commitment to Horizon's mission to welcome radically, love boldly, grow spiritually, and serve courageously. And we do this because we envision a beloved community filled with compassion, helping all to thrive in a just world.
Please receive this blessing. No matter how weak or how frightened we may feel, we each have gifts that can make a difference in the world. In this coming week, may you do at least one thing to support the broken, to welcome the stranger, to celebrate what is worthy, and to do the work of justice and love. Be strong, be connected, and each day act so that you may be a little more whole. Thank you.